Her up top and her down below never exchanged a word. Old Granny Trill and Granny Wallen, they lived on each other's nerves. Ancient rivals, their survival, like two lives entwined. They lived out of sight of one another, but never out of mind. Time stands still for old Granny Trill, as she sat in her window chair, to the tick and the tock of her grandfather's clock, whose hands are no longer there. From her window she sees the old beech tree, sown by her father's hand. Now it stands so high that it fills all the sky, and shadows upon the land. Children would visit old Granny Trill in her bird's nest up the top, a trove full of treasures, trinkets and books, cotton reels and old teapots. From her pages she would read tales of murder, war and doom, but the children felt as safe as peas in a pod in her tiny up-top room. But when Granny Trill was 5, her dear mother died, but her father's love endured. Her father was a woodsman by trade, so their forest home was made in the heart of the Elcombe woods. Then one day tragically he was crushed by a tree, and she held him as she died. She was only 15 when the squire took her in, and by 16 she was a bride. Her upper top would rap on the floor in her black and pale high-laced boots. Her down below would answer the call, knocking right back with her broom. All arrangements were arranged so their paths would never cross. They both lived for years in cordial disdain and in mutual distrust. Time stands forgotten when old Granny Wallen, and her history was unknown. She lives all alone in her rooms down below, and some say she was noble born. She would gather each day in the valley come what may, elder blossom and dandelion, daisy and dog rose, crab apples and quince, for her world-famous hedgerow wine. Her down below would build up her fires, and salt the hedgerow spoils, gleaning of days a dozen pastures, and a taste of summer brought to boil. All the seasons they fermented, and the valley flavours flowed, a labour of love, of sugar and yeast, in her kitchen down below. Time came a-calling early one morning, and took them by surprise. Granny Trill broke her hip in the woods when she slipped, and there up top she died. And time withdraws without blame or cause, as their rivalry concedes. To the core of the crow, 2 weeks later down below, Granny Wallen died in her sleep. Her up top and her down below are now buried side by side. Old Granny Trill and Granny Wallen lay together forever stratified. Ancient rivals, but both still vital to the other now deceased. Down in the valley forevermore, the dear old grannies rest in peace. Ancient rival.